Now at 6, this is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Now at 6, the Waterbury Police Department is cracking down on illegal off-road vehicles on city streets. Good evening and thanks for joining us for the Fox 61 News at 6. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Sarah Sanchez. The city's offering a $200 reward for information that could lead to an arrest. Fox 61's Alicia Hercules is in Waterbury with more on the new initiative.
The Waterbury Police Department hopes that this new tip line will encourage people to not only speak up about illegal off-road vehicle riders, but also encourage people to not use those vehicles at all in the city.
They go through red lights, they're doing wheelies, they're doing their thing, and so yeah, it's a dangerous situation.
Rick Lokitas has lived in Waterbury for almost 30 years. He says he often sees people illegally using ATVs and other off-road vehicles on the street.
There's a lot of traffic other than cars, you know, and it's not, the roads aren't built for that.
Lieutenant Ryan Bassett with the Waterbury Police Department says the city sees an increase in illegal off-road vehicles on the road every year.
These individuals that we've seen here in Waterbury operating on city streets are not driving recreationally, they're doing it unlawfully.
According to a city ordinance, the use of ATVs, dirt bikes, mini motorcycles, and other off-road vehicles are not allowed within city limits. Bassett says these vehicles are a major threat to not only the riders, but drivers on the roads as well.
They're creating mayhem, congestion, really acting in a reckless behavior with how they operate the ATV or dirt bike. That
reckless behavior, Bassett says, leads to several accidents that could be prevented simply by not using off-road vehicles in the city. If people see illegal off-road vehicle riding, whether it's in the street or even at a park, they can anonymously report the riders to the police department.
If you see this nearby in your neighborhood, if they're being housed in the garage, if they're being stored somewhere, you see them leaving the property, please anonymously share that information with us so that we can conduct an investigation and hold those individuals accountable.
Police say all tips will remain 100% anonymous. For more information on how to report off-road vehicles in the city, just visit this story on our website, fox61.com. In Waterbury, Alicia Hercules, Fox 61.
Well, the bear population in Connecticut is on the rise and in places you wouldn't expect. A new report says West Hartford has experienced the highest number of bear sightings among all cities and towns in the state so far this year. Fox 61's Joe Monty spoke to neighbors in West Hartford about their bear encounters, and he also talked with the state about why the number of sightings is rising in these areas.
When you think of a black bear sighting, you typically think of seeing one in a wooded area, someplace secluded, but people who live in more populated areas are starting to see them more often. That's especially true in West Hartford. The state says these animals aren't going anywhere anytime soon. If anything, they're still moving in. You might be thinking, bears in my neighborhood? No way. That's how some in West Hartford once felt, but Jeanette Darden says sightings are almost an everyday occurrence.
I'm still in shock every single time we see one, even though we do see them weekly. I can't believe that there's like this large animal walking around that is kind of unpredictable.
Darden's daughter had a close encounter with a couple of bears when she got off the school bus a few days ago.
She was surprisingly calm. You know, she picked up the phone, you know, in the picture you can see she's holding it and she's talking to me. Mom, there are two very large bears next to me. What should I do? And I said, just stay where you are. Like, I can see you. Don't move, because she was kind of unsure, like, should she walk a different way? And she just kind of stood there, and we waited until we knew there were no other bears, and then she, you know, came home.
Jenny Dixon, director of the Wildlife Division for the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, explained why these encounters are becoming more common.
I think the short answer is our bear population is growing and bears are expanding to other areas of the state. This is a trend that I'm expecting is going to continue throughout Connecticut. You know, we've had bears seen in every town in Connecticut. They're more common in some areas than others, but any town can have a bear and has had a bear. So I think we need to start thinking about Connecticut as a whole as being bear country.
Dixon also says bears that wander through neighborhoods are becoming more comfortable with humans. She says black bears will usually run away from people. However, it can become a problem once bears start to become less afraid.
Our bears are becoming increasingly habituated, which means they're used to people, they're not as afraid of people, and they're becoming food conditioned, which means that they're learning that our yards, our homes, and people in general are places to look for food.
As of June, the state says West Hartford had more than 300 bear sightings reported, the most in the state. That's more than 100 reports ahead of Simsbury, which is used to seeing black bears. Based on the number of bears she has seen, Darden says she's not surprised.
We must make it really easy for them to find rationing. It's the only thing I can think of. I think we just have to learn how to behave around these wild animals so that they don't pose a danger to us.
Dixon says if you unexpectedly come across a bear in your yard, don't corner it and don't run. Make yourself big and loud, and you'll most likely scare it away. The state says you can keep bears out of your neighborhood by keeping your trash locked up and indoors and removing your bird feeders. They say bears are poking around your neighborhood because they're looking for food, and if they can't find it, they'll look somewhere else. Now, I know it's tempting to take pictures and videos when you see a bear, but the state urges you to remember they are wild and could be dangerous. In West Hartford, Joe Monte, Fox 61.
All right, Joe, thank you. Now at 6, part of I-95 north in Milford is shut down because of a motorcycle crash, and it's been that way for hours now. Serious injuries are also reported. The crash is causing a big traffic jam. Officials say a motorcycle crashed at 12:19 this afternoon. Police opened the left and center lanes as they continue to investigate the scene. And new developments in Stamford tonight, where police say a man has died after being hit by a car while riding a scooter 2 weeks ago. 46-year-old Christian Dinamarco was driving a scooter on Hope Street on May 29th. Officials tell us Dinamarco was hit around 11 p.m. and was thrown from his scooter onto the pavement. He died in the hospital last night. Police haven't identified the driver involved, and charges have not been filed at this point. The accident is still under investigation. And right now, investigators are looking for the people who robbed a bank in Groton this morning, and police are asking people to avoid the area for now. Officials tell us 2 people robbed the Chelsea Groton Bank on Gold Star Highway. Officers haven't said what time it happened or how much money was stolen. Now, police sent us these photos of the people they are looking for. If you recognize the suspects or know anything about what happened here, you are asked to contact Groton Police. And East Haven Police have made a second arrest in an organized retail theft investigation at Home Depot. They say 22-year-old Thomas Reynolds of Branford worked at the store, and he's accused of undercharging a customer for high-value merchandise at least 15 times. Police say in exchange, the customer would pay Reynolds in cash. Home Depot fired Reynolds. He is charged with larceny and due in court later this month. We told you earlier this week that the customer, Stacy Greer of Hamden, was also arrested, and he's due in court next week.
Well, a man's accused of hitting a fire truck that was blocking an exit ramp. Police say that driver was speeding to get around other cars when he hit that truck. The crash happened last night on I-91 South. A Hartford fire truck was blocking exit 32AB with its emergency lights on just before midnight. Police say Devon Williams was driving fast in the exit lane, trying to pass another car before the lane was closed. Williams reportedly hit the fire truck and the car he was trying to pass. Williams was the only person injured, and he's expected to be okay, and Williams is due in court next month.
We want to let you know a number of beaches in West Haven are off limits for swimmers right now, but several others that were closed for unsafe bacteria levels have now reopened. May not be much of a problem. Doesn't sound much like a swimming weekend, but anyway, state leaders say Hammonasset Beach State Park in Madison, Rocky Neck State Park in Niantic, Sherwood Island State Park in Westport, and Silver Sands State Park in Milford are all now open. The state has tested the water at those parks and says it is safe for swimmers. State swimming areas are tested every week between Memorial Day and Labor Day. And a fire damaged a house in Bloomfield this morning. Fire crews responded to Brookline Avenue just after 2. There were no injuries reported. The cause of that fire is under investigation now.
Developing now at 6:08. It's the middle of the night in India, but emergency crews are still on site of a deadly plane crash in Ahmedabad. At least 240 passengers and people on the ground were killed when that plane went down. It's reported the Boeing 787 Dreamliner crashed into a medical college just seconds after takeoff. The plane was heading to London from Western India. Officials say Indians, Britons, Portuguese, and one Canadian citizen were on board. Miraculously, one passenger survived the crash. We're looking at new video of him. His family says he essentially walked away from the crash site. He's in the hospital right now. He was traveling with one of his brothers who's presumed dead. His other brother told the media his surviving brother called their father only moments after the crash. And the U.S. is offering help. The NTSB and the FAA are helping Indian investigators figure out how this all happened. Greg Palkett has more from London.
It was a horrible crash. Nobody has any idea what it might be.
We're learning more about one of the deadliest air tragedies in modern history. More than 200 passengers and crew are believed to have been killed in a crash of an Air India flight from Ahmedabad to London. The plane, a Boeing 787, went down just a few seconds after takeoff, crashing in a residential area, injuring more than 100 people on the ground. It's not clear what caused the crash, and the investigation is ramping up.
We are going to do a fair and thorough investigation. We are not going to spare anyone. We are not going to leave any stone unturned.
The plane lost contact just as it was taking off, hit about 600 feet, then did a nosedive. Aviation experts are now looking at several possible causes, including the plane's flaps being moved to an unusual angle and the fact that the landing gear wasn't retracted.
The fact that it was still down suggests that the crew may have had their hands full with some sort of a problem that impacted their ability to fly that airplane moments after takeoff.
The crash comes as Boeing is struggling to rebuild its reputation after several air tragedies last year, but most experts say the plane isn't likely to blame. The 787 Dreamliner has been in service for more than a decade. It's flown by dozens of airlines, and this is the first time it's ever crashed.
We're going to know sooner rather than later. This should not happen.
The NTSB says it's now leading a team of American investigators heading to India to help find the cause of the crash. In London, Greg Palkott, Fox 61.